What is your worst experience with sales and your best experience with sales? The answer to that question will give you clues to how to sell better, which is the focus of today's episode, persuading and selling, something extremely important but underrated. This is the first of our personal development series, 15 minutes every Wednesday. We give you practical principles and tips to improve in a specific area of focus, to improve your financial, spiritual, and emotional state. Okay, these are adapted from my book, Insanity to Radical Kindness, an autobiography and self-help book. If you want to check it out, link is in bio. Special 10% discount for podcast listeners. Let's go straight into it. I'm going to cover the what, the why, and the how about sales. I'll begin with a story. When I was in university, the first ever lecture I attended by a Caucasian lecturer, the first question he asked us was, how many of you do not like sales? Okay, about 1/4 of the lecture hall raised their hands. And he said something that I'll never forget. He said, those of you that raise up your hands, you have to change your perspective immediately, because writing, media is a form of sales, and you cannot have a negative impression towards it. So that made me realize that sales is not just someone shoving a credit card down your throat or insurance down your throat. It is every single thing around you. From this lamp, somebody sold me this lamp. This Rolex watch that I'm wearing, I bought it for certain reasons. This Uniqlo pants and shirt. Basically, everything around you is a form of sales. And why it's important is because whether or not you're trying to get a partner, better relationship with your family and friends, whether you're trying to make more money, progress in your career, you need to sell in some shape or form. Okay? So today we're going to cover some key points and principles on how do you sell better. The first one, okay, is to understand the sales cycle. There are certain aspects of the sales cycle. Number one is prospecting, lead generation, setting appointments, pitching, closing, retention, and referrals. So if you can analyze every single aspect of the sales cycle and sharpen it, what are your weaknesses and strengths in that segment, and you keep constantly improving it, that will really help you. Okay, that's more of a technique. I won't go into detail on that. You can look it up. I want to cover more on principles today. So how do we sell and persuade effectively? There are 6 points I'll cover. 3 today and 3 you got to patiently wait for the next episode and smash the subscribe button. Okay, so I'm going to start off. This is not really a main point, but more of a broad thing. Sales cycle is important to understand what it is. In any form of sales, there is a sales cycle. It starts with lead generation, prospecting, appointment setting, your pitch and close, your retention, your referrals, and then it goes back one loop. So to get good at sales, you need to churn this sales cycle. You need to be very good at identifying what are your weaknesses and strengths in each particular aspect of the cycle, and take a growth mindset to constantly improve and adjust and make improvements from there. Okay? So that is, sales cycles differ from industry. You can look it up based on what industry you're in, but I want to focus more on the principles. 3 today that I'm focusing on. The first one, change your paradigm of sales. Okay, the word paradigm itself is interesting. I'll ask you a question. If today a pilot comes up to you, you're on an airplane, pilot comes up to you and says, I'm going to give you $1 million to jump off the plane. Would any of you do it? No parachute. Would you guys do it? Take a moment to think about it. Most of you will say, Kevin, you're stupid, you're crazy. Why would I risk my life, or why would I want to die for $1 million? When I first mentioned airplane, the first thing that comes to your mind is that it's flying. The airplane's in the air. But where do you see most airplanes? It's actually on the ground. Right? Not just that, you think of a Boeing, a huge plane. I never said it can't be a single propeller plane, right? From the door to the ground is like 1 meter. The point I'm trying to illustrate is that you have a paradigm or association based on cultural expectations or based on certain past belief systems, and these paradigms lead to fear. Fear stands for false evidence appearing real. You think that the plane is flying when actually it's grounded. So in the same way, you guys have a lot of bad impressions of sales, and that holds you back. You think that sales is pushy. You think that people will judge you. You think that sales is taking advantage of people. All these paradigms, you need to break it and shift it. Okay, so how do you adopt a more healthy paradigm towards sales? It's very simple. To me, sales is an extension of my love to somebody else. The word sales comes from the Greek word selon, which means to give. It's to give, not just to take. It's to offer an advantage, not just to take advantage of somebody. When you can see that sales is essentially benefiting somebody's life, there is no reason why you wouldn't do it. Okay, so first point, change your paradigms of sales. The second point, persuade from others' interests. This is super important but overlooked and not always practiced. Nobody cares about you, okay, except your mom maybe. People are more interested in themselves and their own interests. So if you can stop talking about yourself all the time and place the spotlight on other people, understand their concerns, their aspirations, their fears, get very good at empathizing with people. That's how you can identify their needs and then proceed to sell to them. Okay, there is a quote by Eric Feng. He's a global speaker that I need to credit him for this quote. He says, empathy is more important than eloquence. In today's world, you need to have eloquence, but empathy is just as important or more important. People buy not just because they understand, they buy because they feel understood. They don't use it to their advantage, of course. Brief counterpoint and question I get a lot is that, hey, but at the back of my mind, I'm doing this for my own benefit. Like how do I sell to someone when at the back of my mind, I'm thinking I'm going to benefit from this? The way I do it is very, very simple. When I'm sitting across to a client or a prospective business partner or whatever, yes, I know that I have my own interests at the back of my mind, but I'm not focusing on that when I'm talking to him. I surrender the immediate self-interest, which means that when I'm speaking to you, I'm only focusing on how can I provide value to you? How can I understand you more? How can I listen better? That is my central focus, and the person can feel it. And then I know at the back of my mind that eventually I will stand to benefit, but that's not the focus of that conversation, okay? So that's just to help you guys out. Okay, the last point, understand persuasion principles. Okay, this is researched by Robert Cialdini. He has a book you can check out. You can easily Google this, watch some YouTube videos. I'm going to summarize it in my own context. There are 6 persuasion principles. I will talk about it in order of what I like the most to what I like the least. Okay. The first one is reciprocity. It means that when you give more, you will get back more, right? You reap what you sow, karma is real. I love this. I absolutely love this. I can't tell you how it works, but there are times where I really help people with no intention of getting immediate return. And years later, they give me a deal worth tens of thousands of dollars, or they refer me to someone else worth tens of thousands of dollars. Okay? Did I expect that years later? I did not. I was just serving them at that point. I was just sowing social capital. Stephen Covey talks about this. You have financial capital, you put money in the bank, you can withdraw it when you need to. Social capital is the same way, right? When you're nice to people, you serve people. When it's time for you to ask for help, they'll be more inclined to help you. You are withdrawing back their social capital. Jab, 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 right hook is by Gary Vaynerchuk. You need to jab enough to have the audacity to get the right hook. If you're not jabbing enough and giving value enough, you cannot have the audacity to ask for the sale. Okay, so law of reciprocity. Second one is the law of liking and consensus. People, you need to be likable. Right? People don't like you, it's a bit hard for them to do business with you. So go and look at how to be more likable, or follow this podcast. We'll talk about it in future episodes. The third one is authority. Okay, do you come across as an authoritative figure? Are you a thought leader in your field, or do you just regurgitate points and share quotes on Instagram stories all the time? Okay, people can see through it. It's very obvious, and it doesn't build credibility. What I did with my companies is that, yes, I take inspiration from Simon Sinek, Carol Dweck, Angela Duckworth, but I codify it into my own language. Right? For my training company, I have 4. Reclaim control, reframe perspective, request support, and regain confidence. So these are 4 pillars of resilience that I codified myself in my own language, and that leads to me being seen as an authoritative figure. So the best way for you to do this is to synthesize information that's in the environment, map it back to your context, put it into your own words, and deliver it across. Then you'll be seen as an authoritative figure. Okay, the last one, I don't like this, but it still works. That is scarcity. Very obvious, people say, oh, limited time offer, you don't buy this tomorrow, don't have offer already. Scarcity can be used as a means to an end. If you truly believe in your product and you believe that you can help them, you can use it to close the deal for the person's benefit. But I find this a bit tricky because the moral ground will be a bit blurred over here. So I don't tend to use this a lot, but definitely scarcity is something you can look into. Okay, that settles today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Next week, I'm going to talk about 3 more persuasion and sales principles. DM us anytime you have any suggestions on what to cover. If not, I'll see you all in the next episode. Bye.